gonna be in it.
Rocky Mountain Sports Report presents 4th and 99, a Denver Broncos podcast like no other. Prepare yourself for natural and unfiltered opinions with the most scintillating podcast host ever, David Slade, and his partner, Matty Ice.
What's going on?
Hey, Jerry, what's going on? Everybody, this is David with 4th and 99. We got Matt, Jerry Murph from Rocky Mountain Thunders with us, and we have special guest Thomas Reed III from Adams State University, who is a NFL hopeful. So you guys get your questions and comments lined up for him. Start shooting them to us, and we're going to turn this over to Jerry and let Jerry sort of run the interview with Mr. Reed.
Thanks, David. Thanks. Thomas, it's great to have you. Great to be on here tonight.
Appreciate y'all having me. How y'all doing?
Doing great, man. Although where I live, it's still snowing up in Conifer, snowing like crazy. Probably got the same storm Matt was driving in just a little bit ago out in Aurora. But super fired up to hear what the journey of an NFL hopeful is up close and personal, because right now is the time you're looking to get on to a rookie minicamp. Is that right?
That is right. That's right. I've been training and for the past year since I came out of college, hoping for a shot somewhere, looking for an opportunity.
And this isn't your first time. You went through this last year.
Yep. I came out I was in the draft class of 2020 and went through this whole process last year when COVID first hit. Had my pro day March 9th, and then went through it last year, and here we are again.
Right. We had you on the Rocky Mountain Thunder podcast a little while back, and it was awesome to hear your story from Deer Park, New York. Right?
Yes, sir.
Played some football out there at junior college, then got picked up at Adams State and played defensive end for Adams State. You've played with your hand in the dirt. You've played up, standing up. Kind of a man about town.
That's you got to be versatile. You never know where your chances are and the opportunities come. So
that's right. Before I dive into some questions, I got to ask you one really important question. From our podcast last time, you said stay out of your comfort zone, and I've adopted that to finish my Rocky Mountain Thunder podcast. Is it okay if I use that?
You're more than welcome to.
I love that one, man. I love that. That's a great motto. Probably lived that a little bit when I was a younger guy. But, Matt, make sure you do that. Stay out of your comfort zone. Anyway, so you've been in the gym. You're hitting it hard. Is it an everyday 365 thing for you?
Yeah, so Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, I have my training. I do my conditioning, lifting. Some days I do some position work before I go to work. Wednesdays and probably say Saturdays is the days I do a little bit of mobility stuff. I'm at home, I get some rest and do my recovery, my mobility, stability exercises, my chiropractor and therapist, and everybody shows me, and my trainers as well. And then Sundays are like a meal prep day where I got my meal prep going of what I need to eat for the week, how many calories I got to take, and then start on Monday and it's all over. That's my routine every week.
Well, then you probably got it pretty ironed out by now.
Oh, yeah. I'm on a consistent roll with it.
I've been trying for a week to get in to see a chiropractor or a massage therapist for a thing I got going on. I don't know how you fit that all in, because you also have a real job, right?
Yes.
And not only that, in your spare time, you mentor our youth in junior high school and high school, not just in football, but in their grades and life in general, right? Yeah.
So I make sure that obviously sports are very important, but I don't want them going down the same road I went down, making certain mistakes that they didn't need to make. So I make sure that they, I do my grade checks on them, make sure that their grades are good. I make sure their parents send me progress reports and stuff like that. And if they're not doing what they're supposed to do in class, then we got a day of conditioning or their punishment, whatever the case is, and we go from that point on. Hold them to accountability at a young age.
Yeah, that's awesome. So with all your training, you've got to work on your weaknesses and your strengths, right?
Absolutely.
how are you coming from? I guess you did a pro day last year. You haven't done another pro day since when?
So my official pro day was March 9th of last year, but I've had a couple tryouts since then. I tried out for the FCF, that Fan Control Football League that passed, and they ran similar drills and things like that. So, I mean, I kind of just been staying in shape in the overall aspect of things for any opportunity that comes about. If I have to like rerun a 40, 5, 10, 5, broad jump, things like that. But I'm also still working on my craft and other crafts that could possibly be there.
Yeah. What kind of have you been improving those numbers, or did you get feedback on your numbers last year?
So for my pro day, dealing with the tweak hamstring that I had during my pro day, running the 40 and things like that, I know that it wasn't my best performance, but now that I'm 100% healthy, I do a lot more recovery and stuff like that from the trials that I've had. My numbers have definitely improved, especially in my 5, 10, 5 and my 40. And then now that I'm getting better, stronger, more detailed into my craft and stuff like that, I'd assume my numbers have gotten better. So when the opportunity comes about, I know there will be improvement.
Yeah. All right. So have you run a 40 recently?
The last 40 I ran was in January at the FCF tryout, I believe. I think it was January or December. One of those.
And how fast?
I was at a 4.7 flat.
4.7's not bad, not bad. And I guess we ought to talk about size. As a defensive end, are you more of a 4.3 defensive end, a 5 tech, or what do you think?
So in college, we ran a 4.25. That my junior college, we ran a 4.3 a couple of times, and no matter what it was, my hand was always in the dirt. So I know at the next level, things could possibly change. So I'm prepared for that. But if we run like a 3.4, I'm willing to stand up. I'm learning how to drop back into coverage. I was just actually in Florida training for a week, and I was learning from some coaches and stuff out there. You know, I'm just picking apart the knowledge from players that are already there, coaches that are already there, and going from there, you know. Yeah.
So here in town, who are you working out with? Aren't you working out with a few Broncos and some other NFLers?
Yes. Yes. I train at Landau Performance Center in Centennial. And then a couple of the players that I've, trained with was Deion Sizer, Jonathan Harris. I've met Malik a couple of times. He's given me some pointers and tips, Malik Reed. Justin Simmons, he's also done the same, giving me some pointers and tips and learning the coverages and things like that. So I've definitely gotten a lot of tips from the guys that are on the squad now.
Awesome. As Bronco fans, we can definitely appreciate you getting some tips from those guys. Those are some of our best. That's awesome. Yeah. So a 4.7 40 is not too bad. How about your vertical? Are you getting to do any of that stuff, or are you just doing drills and working on improving those numbers?
I mean, I'm always working and improving those numbers, but the last vertical that I had was a 36.5 at my pro day. And my broad jump was a 10 feet 6 inches at my pro day.
Woo, that's pretty good. Is that just from standing still and just jump, right?
Yep, stand still, flat feet, explode all the way up or explode all the way out.
Wow. Before this interview, I have to be honest, I was looking at some of the Broncos draft picks to see how you'd compare. And frankly, your broad jump blew Jonathan Cooper away. He's only 9 feet. That's awesome. That's awesome. Matt, how about you? You got anything to hit him up on?
I'm over here. I'm just listening for sure. I'm trying to soak it all in. I listened to your guys' first interview on the cast. I kind of wanted to touch more on kind of like the your nonprofit that you're working on. My brain's not working. I'm still battling through traffic brain.
That's all good.
Yeah, because so a little bit about me. My day job is I work with nonprofits nonstop. So that's kind of where I'm at. So that's kind of more my field outside of sports. So I kind of wanted to see what this platform is that you guys are utilizing. I heard you talk about really making an impression on the youth. What's the name of your nonprofit? If you could run it through me one more time.
So the nonprofit that I started in college, my freshman year, was called Athletes Impact Lives, AIL. What we do is, since I was in junior college and things like that, I was just trying to find ways to give back to the community, because even though we were athletes at small schools, like I cherish the fact that I was blessed enough to still be an athlete. And a lot of people don't look at it like that. You know, we don't have to be NFL superstars all the time to kind of make change, So I realized that I had the blessing, and I started taking my teammates, and we just got involved in the community, going to like the AIDS walk, the kidney disease walk, we went to the children's hospitals, and then I had teammates that played at FIU, other colleges, and things like that. So I started getting them involved, and I started setting up their events and kind of doing it for their team so they can give back, and so on and so on. And it just continued on. So my main thing was just to kind of allow people who are in the community to feel like, okay, even though you're our athlete, we feel appreciated that you're willing to connect with us. And as an athlete, it's also like a humbling thing to kind of, understand that people look up to us no matter where we're at in our lives.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So this is a nationwide thing that you've kind of helped put together.
It's getting there.
Or is it regional, would you say?
I would say it was more regional. I've definitely worked with a couple teams in New York and Jersey, how I have. And then I had one teammate that played baseball at a college in Georgia. So I set up events for him. Like I said, I had a couple friends that went to college at FIU. So I set up, an event for them when they came back home, things like that. So I would say it's more regional, but I'm looking to expand it as far as I can.
Okay, that's awesome. My next question is going to be totally off topic. So you went to Adams State. So I'm from Southern Colorado. I grew up in Pueblo. So I grew up in a little town about 15, 20 miles east of Pueblo called Avondale. So I grew up out in the boonies. Mm-hmm. So what's it like going from New York to Adams State, Southern Colorado? There's nothing out there. I mean, you're going from like city life to the boonies. How was that change for you?
The change, I would say at first it was kind of exciting because I knew that it was going to be something I can honestly learn in my life, something that was different from what I'm used to. But it was definitely a culture shock. Like I remember when I first got to Colorado, I'm used to, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches from the deli or the stores or something. So I went to Safeway and I was like, hey, could I get like a bacon, egg, and cheese? And the guy just like took an egg and threw it in the microwave kind of thing. It was like, here you go. So I'm like, it was kind of like, the food ain't the same. The lifestyle wasn't the same. The way people even talk aren't the same. But, I definitely enjoyed my time there and I learned a lot while I was there. So.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of record did you guys have? I'm sorry, Matt. What kind of record did the Grizzlies have?
What kind of? I'm sorry.
What was the record you guys had while you were there?
Truthfully, I don't remember. I know my junior year, we won like a lot of the big games, but I just don't remember the records offhand. Truthfully.
Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot there.
No. It's all good. It's all good. No worries.
Well, the bottom line is you're obviously a character guy, mentoring the kids. The way you mentor the kids is what impresses me as much as anything. And your nonprofit that Matt was just talking to you about, but how you juggle all that. Clearly you have great time management skills. You're working with the right people at the right place. Tyler Columbus was just on our local radio station. The Fan just couldn't praise the Landau program enough. Mm-hmm. So you're at a place that our Broncos work out at and get all the finest training. So you're definitely doing that. Mm-hmm. So what do we need to do to get those invites coming to you? How do we get you out there?
Truthfully, I don't know. I mean, I'm just hoping that the right people can hear me, hear my story, or see my athletic ability, or even just want to look at my film and say, hey, you know what? We're going to give this kid a chance. We've seen that. I'm open to being on kickoff return, versatility. I'm taking myself out of my comfort zone, making myself uncomfortable. Yeah. And I'm learning positions that I know that I probably won't play or I probably could play. It's just the fact if I learn it and have a sense of an idea of it, when that opportunity comes, I know I'll be somewhat prepared for it, and then I could just take the coaching from that point on.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping anybody gives me a shot.
So, is there some film people can look up available right now?
Yeah. So I pretty much all my years of college on there. My freshman year at Nassau Community College film. I have my film from ASA College, and then I have my film from Adams State my senior season. Okay.
So give me your measurables. What are you? I think I saw 6'3". Is that right?
Yeah, I'm about 6'2", 6'3". Okay. I gained a little weight, so I'm roughly about almost 240 now. So all right. I'm at that range. From what I remember, I think my hand measurement at my pro day was like 10 1/4. So they said good. That my hand measurement was good, things like that. But my fastest I ran my 5'10" 5 was a 4.21. Like I said, the fastest I ran my 40, 4.7. Vertical was 36.5. Broad was 10.6. So
That 5.21 is also called the shuttle, correct?
that 5.10.5, yes.
Yeah. Okay. 5.10.5.
Yes,
So
the shuttle.
let me just throw this out there for you, so you know you're in the right place. Okay.
Mhm.
Baron Browning, I've got his numbers because I wanted to compare with you, and 6'3", 245 is what they have him listed at. His hand is 9.88 inches. You said 10.25. That's nice. That's real nice. Excellent for intercepting those passes and batting balls down, right?
I got to get in the window.
Heck yeah. His 40 was a 4.55. They had run that at Ohio State, so that might have been fudged a little bit. I can vouch for that. The big schools, they're known for that kind of thing. I can't prove it, but they are known for it. His shuttle was a 4.22, so you're right on target at a 4.21. So
Yeah.
we're looking at Baron Browning here. We just got to get him on the football field, see what he's got. So let's find a way to do that. Broncos, I think we ought to grab this Colorado kid, but any and all teams, you're welcome to it.
Absolutely.
If you're willing and able.
So Thomas, this is David. I was watching some film on you, and I've seen that you seem pretty comfortable dropping from a defensive end spot back into coverage. I mean, is that something you're open to doing? Is maybe converting to a linebacker or something if needed?
Absolutely. So at my pro day, I actually did most of the linebacker drops and things like that, the back pedals and stuff. And like I said, from my pro day to this point, I've just been constantly looking ways to improve that and develop in that. I know that eventually I'm gonna need the field work itself, but the fact that if I'm learning the basics of dropping back into coverage, reading my keys and learning all of those things and what to look for when you're man to man and so on, those are the things I've just been trying to pick up on and learn. I'm always perfecting my craft if my hand is in the dirt, but because you can never stop improving on that. But if I have to drop back into coverage or play the middle or whatever the case is, I'm open to that too, and that's where I've been learning.
Yeah, and another thing I noticed watching film on you is you do not stop until that whistle blows. I mean, I've seen you chase down. I saw you chase down running backs and wide receivers that were 10 yards ahead of you. So I mean, you got some determination to you, and I think that's what a lot of players need to learn is the play's not over until that whistle blows, because you see a lot of times, people they get beat and they stop, and that's one thing I noticed about you is you just kept going.
You have to. You got 10 other people on the field that are out there working with you. You gotta do your part. So if you gotta hustle to the ball to help your man next to you, then so be it.
Yeah, that reminded me of several other topics, David. I appreciate you bringing that up. Thomas here has also been a long snapper, so he's not just a linebacker, defensive end guy. He's a capable special teams guy as well as his long snapper. I mean, what more can you ask for? Came from a big pool of youth football players in New York. How big is Deer Park? Is it a suburb of New York City? I don't know where Deer Park is.
So Deer Park is on Long Island, and it's a pretty decent size, but you have like a ton of different high schools around there, North Babylon, Huntington, all of that stuff like that. So
you definitely have time.
Yeah.
That's big time. So definitely been around in a deep pool of players. Going from junior college to Adams State, you've definitely shown a fire to continue to improve and stay out of your comfort zone. I want to point out that Thomas here is also a gold medal winner for our U.S. national football team. To me, this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
You laugh it off, but to me, I mean, that's a big deal.
I appreciate that.
For what were you, 16?
Yeah, I was 17. I literally had my graduation, my prom, and then the next day I flew out and played for Team USA. We had a training camp in DC. I think it was about 55,000 or something like that across the country who were nominated to kind of play, and they only selected 53 or 55. So it was like one every 1,000. And went to DC.
We froze up.
Oh no.
Thomas, you froze up.
Had our training camp there. Then they flew. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you came in and out there. You're back.
There we go.
Okay. So yeah. So like I said, they flew us out to Kuwait. We played against Germany, Japan, Mexico, and then Canada in the championship game. We beat Canada in the championship game and came back home with the gold.
There you go. 55,000 people, and you were one of 55 to get selected.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's a big deal, man. So
That is.
there are some coaches that could see that drive and what David was talking about, your ability and desire to finish, play to the whistle. Mm-hmm. And that's you'll see college kids on TV playing in the SEC that don't play the whistle. So, and as a high school coach, it used to infuriate me to try to get kids to play to the whistle. They watch the pros and everything kind of start shutting her down, you know. So I know that's a big thing, and somebody like Vic Fangio would be all over that. And I know coaches around the NFL are going to be looking for fired up guys that play the whistle.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jerry, really quick, we got a couple questions I want to throw out there. And first one is from one of our loyal followers who's been with Rocky Mountain Sports Report since the beginning. He asked, he says, have you had any talk with Vaughn? And it doesn't have to be Vaughn in particular, but any NFL players have you talked to about this process, Thomas? And what advice are they giving you and how to navigate through this process?
So I haven't talked to Vaughn, but I have talked to like I said, all of the players from Landau talked about their journey and their process, even the guys who were big time, the guys who were small time, practice squad, so on. I'm just learning bits and pieces of the different aspects of the business and how it goes and what I could possibly experience and then how to maneuver around that. I've learned from guys like Paxton Lynch and learned from, Dion and Justin and Elijah Wilkinson when he was out here, things like that. So I've just been picking apart the knowledge from these guys, and I genuinely appreciate the fact that when I do have these conversations, they're giving me the advice. Even some of the guys I trained with for my pro day, like Davion Taylor, who's on the Eagles and stuff like that, he gave me a breakdown of what his experience was and what to look for, what coaches look for after his rookie season. So I appreciate all of these guys.
Okay. And then one other, this comes from Kurt, and I know we talked about Kurt before we came on air, and this is Kurt with K&K Sports. So, and he's wishing you good luck, and he's just going to give him a little plug. And you will be on with him Wednesday, it appears like,
yes, sir.
Thomas. Okay, so everybody, make sure you check out K&K Sports and catch up with Thomas over there. I think this is a pretty great story that, you're out here telling and trying to get your name out there. So, Jerry, any more?
Yeah, I want to hit the K&K Sports Show again. Great friends of Rocky Mountain Sports Report, as well as the Rocky Mountain Thunder. I know they've had Matt and myself on there, and looking forward to getting Thomas on there. Kurt or Thomas, what time are you on Wednesday night? Do you know?
I don't know. As of right now, we're still going to try to figure out the logistics, but as soon as we figure everything out, you guys will be the first to know.
Okay.
Go from there.
All right. Well, hopefully Kurt will hit us up here while we're on. That whole gold medal thing really fires me up. I know you're super willing and able to play on the defensive side of the ball or long snap. If I remember from our podcast when you were on with me on Rocky Mountain Thunder, you liked that Jason Taylor was kind of a guy you fashioned your play after.
Yes, it was. Yes,
Miami
it was.
Dolphin, and that was because your dad's an old military guy that was in Miami, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so my dad and my grandfather were both Dolphins fans when I was growing up. And when they kind of put me in football, I started getting people comparing me because I was like the tall kid on the team, but I was like really skinny. Yeah. So people used to compare me to Jason Taylor and everything. So I started watching him, and I just became a fan of him and learned from him and the best of the guys in the league at that point.
All right. I thought you were going to say you became the freak. That was the nickname that Jason Taylor got because nobody saw a man that big be that fast off the edge.
The little insider, my nickname as a kid was actually Godzilla. They used to, like, when I make a big play, they had like the Godzilla noise playing through the speakers kind of thing. So
nice.
Yeah.
And for the K&K Sports Show out there in New York, you being a New York kid, you also like Lawrence Taylor a little bit.
Yeah, definitely grew up watching Lawrence Taylor. My dad was a big fan of his too. Just a lot of the big time football players like defensive line and linebackers and stuff that I grew up watching all of those guys.
Right. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. I can't say enough good things about you. My experiences with you have been great. I think you're doing all the right stuff, especially with your kids that you're mentoring, working out at Landau, getting your drills and skills, your weightlifting. Super fired up for you, Thomas. I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you guys having me out here. I really do. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you guys in the long run.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll second this comment from Katie McManus. Great all around guy, and best of luck to you. So, and you're welcome back on 4th and 99 with Matt and I anytime. I know Jerry will have you on Rocky Mountain Thunder anytime. So, anytime you want to get out and just get your face out there some more, reach out to one of us, and we'll definitely bring you on the air. Matt, you got anything?
Nothing. I mean, I just want to wish you the best of luck, man. Just tripling down on the last comment we've seen. I've heard nothing but great things about you, and we're all really in your corner rooting for you.
I appreciate you guys. Really do.
Yeah, I expect some follow-up for when you get that letter or the phone call from minicamp, huh?
Absolutely. I'll make sure I follow up too.
All right. I'll keep banging the drum, see if I can get through to any of my contacts.
All right. Sounds good to me.
All
All right. Thanks, Thomas.
Appreciate you guys.
Take care of your little buddy there tonight.
I'll take care of him. Don't worry.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thanks again. So, man, I can't say enough about that guy. Super fired up for him. I hope good things.
Yeah, definitely. Seems like a great guy. And like I said, I was watching film on him, and the guy he doesn't stop.
No,
I mean, he goes from the minute he puts his hand in the ground until that whistle blows.
Yep.
So, and I mean, he's just a high energy guy, and hopefully he'll get an opportunity somewhere in the NFL. So, everybody out there, hey, we thank you guys for chiming in, and looks like we said, it looks like he'll be on at 8:30 Eastern, so 6:30 Mountain Time Wednesday on K&K Sports. So make sure you go over to their Facebook page, follow them, and hook up with them, and give Thomas some more of your guys' support and everything. Let's hope this guy gets a shot out there somewhere. All right.
Yeah, it'll be cool for him to kind of reconnect with his New York connection, see how that pans out.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely will. So, all right. Matt. All right. So,
to talk about here.
Yeah, definitely a lot to talk about. So, Matt had an idea. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about the draft class. We're going to talk about, the good things we had, some things that, maybe weren't probably, in our opinions, the best moves. Some of the picks where we might get the most value at, maybe where we got a steal in the draft somewhere. We can look at things like that. Touched a little bit on Aaron Rodgers, what's going on that. I know Matt had heard some other rumors today coming out of Green Bay, so we'll touch on all this. But everybody out there, hey, throw us your comments too on what you guys think about the draft class and how we're going to go. So how do you guys want to do this, Matt? You want to go round by round? What do you want to do?
Well, I was thinking, since I know Aaron Rodgers is the biggest topic, I think maybe we could just start there. Let's just get it out the way so it doesn't clog up the show.
Yeah, please. So we're not on here till 10 o'clock tonight talking about Drew Lock and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't really know the logistics of what's happening. We don't know the amounts. But what has came out today across, the national level, Ian Rappaport, Rap Sheet over on NFL Network, has reported that Green Bay has extended a long-term deal to Aaron Rodgers. This is supposed to be some kind of astronomical amount. Now they have officially put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' court. It's going to be up to him. Does he decide does money heal all wounds and he stays, or is he going to throw this contract out, rip it up and say I still want out of here? So the first step is at least occurred in the next Aaron Rodgers saga as we wait and see what happens as the June 1st deadline approaches.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
why don't you bring us up to speed on the whole June 1st thing, Matt? I know you're all over that. It's a big difference in cap space or cap hit, right?
Yeah, sorry about that. A little bit of a distraction.
No worries.
So June 1st, officially what happens is pre-June 1st, if they try to trade him, Green Bay is on the hook for all of the money this season. If they wait until after June 1st, they're able to split it up to roughly about half of it this season and the remaining next season. So it's able to break it up, and essentially they gain cap back on this year. They go up roughly $22 million. So if they push it back, they'll be able to lose, split the contract up and still gain money for them to use this year, which would be a pretty big help for them as they go from like 2 million up to about 22. So they would get a significant bump in cap.
Sure. And that'll ultimately help the Broncos as well then, because the pack won't be so pissed off about losing money.
Right.
Exactly.
And I've heard this out there too, more rumors that this thing, it may not happen on June 2nd. This thing could really drag all the way out until training camp, until Green Bay sees that maybe Aaron Rodgers is serious and he's not coming back, because you don't want to lose the reigning MVP. You're going to extend every olive branch that you can find, and so this could be a long journey. So everybody, you're probably going to hear all these different rumors and everything about Aaron Rodgers and the Denver Broncos and Aaron Rodgers and the Las Vegas Raiders. And so it's going to be a long journey. So right now, I think, we just focus on it's Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, and that's the way we're going right now.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty fair to say that the Denver Broncos are doing that. George Payton may not be doing that necessarily, but that's his job. So he can focus on that while the rest of the Broncos go on about business as usual.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to highlight, though, just a little bit as we do on the Rodgers thing, if he does become available, it's going to be difficult for the Packers to maneuver this because, we hear Aaron Rodgers is hitting the market and everyone would love to be interested. But one thing we have to keep in mind, this is already going to be happening at the end of the offseason, essentially. The free agents have already been signed. The draft class has already happened. Financially, it's going to be hard for very many teams to be competitive in the Aaron Rodgers market. Mm-hmm. So essentially, the way I was looking at it today, as potential suitors trying to keep a neutral lens, Denver currently sits number 2 in the cap space out of all teams, roughly, I think 25 mil. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. So essentially, they're number 2. That number is either going to jump or stay the same depending what happens with the whole Jawan James, contract issue and who they bring in to replace him. So, we could be looking at gaining a few million. We could be looking at staying the same. We would still be in that, roughly number 2 spot. The next team that's quarterback hungry or is in need of a quarterback is Washington. They're sitting 11th in cap space with only 15 mil in cap space. That's not enough to absorb the Aaron Rodgers contract. So it's going to be interesting to see how it happens. Whatever team is going to be pursuing him is going to have to be creative with the cap space. Because as of right now, as it stands, Denver is the only team who can afford him that needs a quarterback. So that it's going to be interesting. Other thing for Washington is they also have Charles Lindell there today, who's doing a physical and workout. If they sign him, that's a roughly $10 million contract, so they're going to drop to about 5. So money's tight is all I'm saying. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. That tackle thing is another thing we're going to have to at least skim over tonight because that's a big deal. But getting back to you, Matt, Mike Kliss made a comment about he didn't feel like the Denver Broncos really had enough to persuade Green Bay to trade him. And I found that interesting and a little bit unbelievable. But we could talk about all the different trade packages all night long and still not hit on it. So I guess what I was getting at there is Green Bay could just sit on this deal and let him retire. They would not get any draft capital or any assets, but they wouldn't have to pay him either, correct?
Yeah, so essentially what happens is if Aaron Rodgers says, I'm going to retire, I don't want this contract, I just want out, screw it, I'm done. Essentially, he has to pay them back. If you were to retire pre-June 1st, it's around $22 million, I believe. I don't know what it looks like after, because that's when the entire cap thing gets shifted. So I'm not sure exactly what that would look like. But knowing Green Bay, they're not going to just say, okay, we're going to let you just retire. They're going to need something in return, because if Rodgers walks out that door, you're going to see a significant decline from players like Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, their biggest offensive stars. They don't really have a killer tight end. So, I mean, they're going to need to do something to help Jordan Love or whomever their quarterback is kind of restart that offense.
Right.
So I think it would be a major mistake, but at the same time, though, pride gets in the way even at this level. So it would be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
But there's no way they just let him walk out the door. And the longer they wait to figure this out, especially after that June 1st, date happens, the longer they wait after that, the more it's going to favor whomever is trying to receive Aaron Rodgers than what it's going to be for the Packers.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know if you caught this, Matt. I was telling Jerry earlier, but there are rumors out there that this thing may drag on all the way to training camp until Green Bay really sees that Aaron Rodgers is serious when he doesn't show up, for any offseason team activities, and then doesn't report for training camp. So it's like I told Jerry, we could be in the long haul, and so. And Kurt has a thing here, just to comment. Just imagine this offense with Rodgers, just wow. And everyone says, well, this is just like when Peyton came, and actually this is better than when Peyton came, I think, because when Peyton came to the Broncos, Peyton still had a lot of questions about him physically. Just coming off his neck surgery, how was he going to be? How was he going to recover? And things like that. We knew he was going to be there mentally, but was he going to have the physical traits of the game? Aaron Rodgers is playing some of the best football he's played, and so he comes in here. The bar is going to be super high. So, and it'll be fun to watch if it does happen. But it's like I told, right now, I think we just need to focus on
what we have.
It's just Teddy Bridgewater versus Drew Lock right now, and we'll see where that goes. So, one other question on this, and then let's move on. John Burton says, available, the cost Rodgers draft pick is huge. Do you see Peyton doing this? And you sort of addressed that, Matt. Maybe the longer it drags on, that reduces some of Green Bay's leverage, and puts more of the leverage on the team that's going to be giving stuff up, because Green Bay's going to want to get something out of him, So
yeah, I mean the big thing though is, go ahead, Jerry. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say I wanted to circle back to John's comment there. A couple other Facebook comments here. This is FYI is interesting. Heard from a New York sportscaster with connections in Vegas. Said her source told her there is a 25% chance Rodgers plays for the Broncos this year and a 75% chance he's a Bronco next season. That is really interesting.
And does he just sit out all year? I mean, he's in a place financially where he could just sit out all year and then force Green Bay to trade him.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's a really unique situation. I don't think we've seen quarterbacks do this like Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and Aaron Rodgers in the history of the game. I don't remember this type of a quarterback being so disgruntled league wide. So this is a little bit, I hate to say it's unprecedented, but I do see Peyton doing this, John Burton, to get back to your question. It's just a matter of what will the Broncos be willing to do, and who will they be willing to give up? And again, all three of us and all out in Facebook world, we could hash this around forever and not get it right. It's just no telling.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, just to answer the question for him real quick, absolutely, Peyton would do this. If we look at Minnesota's history, him and Spielman together, they typically they'd rather invest in veteran quarterbacks. We've seen it with Sam Bradford. We've seen it with Kirk Cousins. They like to go this route. That we don't know who was really pulling the strings over there in Minnesota, or if it was a collaborative decision. But the track record supports he's been part of a management team that chases veterans. So I would say 100% yes, he's undoubtedly going to be chasing the last year's MVP in Aaron Rodgers. If he would pull the trigger.
And all I know right now, and Jerry probably knows this just as well, the starter in Denver right now is Drew Lock.
Right.
Absolutely not.
All right, everybody, we're going on to draft talk now. No more quarterback talk.
Yeah.
All right, so and we'll just.
I think.
I do want to say one more.
Round by round. Sorry, go ahead.
One more thing about the Packers here. If Rodgers doesn't play, are they ready to lean on Jordan Love yet? I don't believe they are, because they were ready to trade him a couple of weeks ago. So, yes, the Green Bay Packers are going to need to do something, because there's no free agent quarterback out there that's going to carry that team. So, if they can't get Aaron Rodgers dialed in, they're going to do something. And whether it's the Broncos and Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater or the Raiders and Derek Carr, they got to do something.
Yeah.
And before we move on to the draft stuff, I want to touch on one more NFL topic. A former Bronco, I guess, fan favorite, Tim Tebow, looks like he's going to sign a 1-year agreement with the Jacksonville Jaguars to play tight end. You know, I see Jerry's trying to hold in the laugh. You know, I'm the kind of person that believes if he would have made this move 6 years ago, he would probably still be in the NFL. You know, I just don't know if he makes it now. So, but I wish him luck. I liked him. I think he's a good character guy. You know, so it'd be nice to see him, you know, land a spot and hook up with his old college coach, I guess.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of a fairy tale story now. I really like Tim Tebow, and I didn't mind him as a Bronco. He's a terrible quarterback, but he did carry the team to a championship. So, you know, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go round by round.
Do we want to do draft first or this tackle thing real quick?
Matt, can you give us an update? I know the Broncos have brought in a few people. Have you heard anything out there on what they're possibly going to do?
So they brought in Dennis Kelly, he started, I think, 16 games last season for the Titans. Unfortunately, I don't remember what his injury was. He went down with a pretty significant injury in the playoffs against Baltimore last year, which ultimately led to him being let go. The other person that they've been rumored to at least have brought in or is scheduled to come out this week is Bobby Massey, former right tackle for the Chicago Bears. He's a average player. There's not tremendous upside with him. He's going to just be a plug and play guy and hope he can stay healthy. He's had some health concerns in the past. Charles Leno, who is visiting Washington today, seems to be the top target for everyone who needs a tackle. So it's going to be interesting to see if Denver is able to bust into that market. Leno did express interest in Denver himself, saying he's familiar with some of the players out there. He knows Vic. So, and he knows a lot of the NFC, North guys. So he knows Shermer from Minnesota when he was in Minnesota. Same thing with Peyton, and then of course the tie to Vic. So he's got a lot of NFC North connections coming from Chicago. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. He's the top target for me out there. The other Eric Fisher from the Chiefs, former Chiefs tackle, signed with Indianapolis today. Yep. So he's off the market. Mitchell Schwartz is out there, but the same thing. What really does he have left in the tank? He's probably the best tackle out there when healthy, but it's also going to be very costly. And with him coming off, I think it was Achilles or ACL, either one, it's pretty significant for someone of that age and that position to come back from. So right now, I think they're going to just kind of play it. They have tons of time to figure it out. We're going through the dead zone of the off season, here in the next few weeks. So
it seems real simple that they would just bring DeMar Dotson back. He's 36 years old. Didn't really suffer any serious injuries last year. He was questionable for a couple of games, but why wouldn't we just bring DeMar Dotson back?
Just limitations. I mean, he can't. He's not really effective in the passing game. And if the quarterback you guys are hoping is a starting quarterback, he's going to need that time, and he's going to need somebody that's going to be able to move out and help him to the right side, because what we've all discussed and we've all noticed, one of Drew Lock's tendencies is not to step up in the pocket, but move to the right. He slowly drifts that way. And if you're not having a guy who's going to be mobile enough to give, Drew or that extra few seconds, if this is the starting quarterback, he's going to be getting eaten alive, or he's going to continue to roll out to the right to where he runs out of real estate. And then that's where we see those poor decisions, that he step out of bounds or a hawk downfield, because he's not having anyone that can protect that side after he's evaded. So I don't think.
Yeah, you amaze me. You
I always find a way to.
You do. You always find a way to bring Locke into this and just
But he's going. But I'm just saying,
beat him down.
But if that, but I mean, it's not bad. I mean, there's tons of quarterbacks.
I
like
know,
freaking,
man. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Our buddy Tim Tebow had the same problem, but to the left side, always wants to bootleg
Right.
to the left.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. So I know that was a fair evaluation because that is one of his problems. He likes to bail out of the pocket quickly and roll to the right. And yeah, we're going to need somebody over there. What do you guys think of maybe Calvin Anderson? Is he ready to step up?
I would say it's a reach right now. I mean, we don't really know much about him. He's had limited playing time. That's why you got to bring in one of these veterans. I feel more comfortable with him being a swing tackle. You get a fair evaluation. You're bringing one of these vets for a year. He is going to get some playing time, especially if you sign one of these older vets who's going to need, some time off in the huddle. These guys that are north of 30 can't play every single down. So getting them kind of used to getting into it, getting up to the NFL speed, and knowing what it's like to get punched in the face by a Myles Garrett or a Carlos Dunlap or some of these other really premier edge rushers.
Yeah, and I've seen some talk of just shuffling our whole offensive line around, and that's a bad idea if you ask me. We got people who were young last year. We're just reading Kush is going into his second year. I think he did okay as a rookie, and learning the NFL game, calling signals, protections, and all that stuff. I think he had Reisner, who was sort of overcompensating a little bit to help out Kush, which affected his game a little bit. We have our drama at right tackle. So, right guard, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, just shuffling everyone around, I think makes it even worse. And hopefully we'll be able to bring in somebody to shore this up. But all of these problems would have been avoided if we would just done what we all wanted to do and picked a right tackle at number 9 in the draft.
Right.
Or tackle somewhere, anywhere in the draft.
Anywhere.
Right.
Well, I would argue, and it's something that I've brought up several times today, specifically in the quarterback controversies and debates and conversations. This offense is so young. If Lloyd Cushenberry would have had Peyton Manning behind him, he would have learned 10 times what he learned last year.
I agree.
And Drew Lock, for that matter, might have too. Watching Peyton Manning and learning from Peyton Manning, as opposed to being thrown to the wolves out there, so to speak, throwing to rookie wide receivers that they don't really know how to find those seams and things in the NFL that might exist in the NCAA. You know what I mean? So it's just a super young offense. It would be real nice to me to have a more senior tackle out there, or somebody with some NFL experience.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's my answer to Calvin Anderson. Yeah. I agree totally with Matt. Keep him as a swing guy, and let's find somebody with some.
All right. So let's try to keep these things to maybe a minute or two on
quickly.
Players. Quick. We could sit here all night and talk about it, and I don't have a problem with it. But we got other things in life that need to go on. So, first pick, round 1. Patrick Surtain, or Pat Surtain, as he wants to be called. What are you guys' thoughts on the pick? Good pick, bad pick, and just because we say it's a bad pick does not mean it's a bad player.
Absolutely.
And I want everybody to understand that 100%. If we say someone was a bad pick, it does not mean that they're a bad player. It just may not have fit what we needed at the time. So I'll let Jerry go first on his thoughts on Surtain.
I can't wait to watch him play for us. I think he's a great cornerback. I had he and J.C. Horn neck and neck as the first cornerbacks off the board, so that's exactly how it went. I think all of us in Bronco country thought a quarterback was the higher priority. Personally, I thought a right tackle was the highest priority. But Matt had a good point about bringing in a right tackle with Juwan James going to be the starter. The right tackle is just going to sit on the bench, and a first-round guy should be playing. Wouldn't you agree, Matt?
Yeah. So what was your grade be, Jerry, for Pat Surtain?
I only did an overall grade, but Pat Surtain is an A. It just, with hindsight now, it looks more like a C.
Yeah, I'll keep mine short and to the chase. I give it a C. I I don't believe in the philosophy of drafting depth inside the top 10. We had two major needs that needed to be addressed. One on the so quarterback and right tackle. Where the caliber, we won't know what the caliber of the players is going to be like until later. But looking at it, but if you look back at this in 15 years, no matter how great Pat Surtain ends up being, if Justin Field turns into a two-time Super Bowl champ, we're going to be remembered for the team that passed on it. So unfortunately, that's how Pat Surtain's career will be measured, especially here in Denver. So, nothing against the kid, but unfortunately, it's going to be a lower grade just because there was a bigger priority on
and I agree with Matt. I love Surtain. I also had him right up there, 1A, 1B at times throughout the whole season. Had Farley up there for a while, and then some medical issues came out with Farley. J.C. Horn climbed up the board, but Surtain was always up there, and I love him as a player, but I agree with Matt. Based on the needs that we had, this is a C pick for me as well. Maybe in 5 years he turns into an A. He turns into another Champ Bailey type or something like that. But we'll have to see. So, all right, second round. Then we're
maybe an excellent trading chip as well, whether it's for a right tackle or a quarterback.
And that is true. So, and who knows? So, second round we were sitting at 40, and we traded up with Atlanta. Is that who we traded up?
I believe so. Yeah,
I believe it was Atlanta.
Yeah.
We traded up to number 35, and we took Javonte Williams. Thoughts here, Matt? I'm going to let you go first this time.
Same thing here. I feel like I really like Javonte Williams as a player. I love it. But at the same time, was this more of a luxury pick again? And we maneuvered some stuff around it. I got to give it I'll give this one a C+, just because the same thing. You could have traded up to take one of those top tackles that was still on the board there. I like the player, but I just don't like it in terms of where we were at. He might have been the best player on the board as in terms of what's going to make the flashiness. But second round is a little high for me. I think you could have got a decent value running back later in the draft, like Jerry's guy Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech. You could have got a steal later in the draft and not had to risk that capital.
Jerry, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with Matt. However, I'm not going to agree with Matt just because we don't like to do that. I thought the Broncos should trade back in the first round. Then in the second round, they jump and trade up. But they did grab a running back that I'm very high on. I said several times in the early going that maybe the Broncos should draft a Najee Harris because I believe he's going to be that good. But with, further processing, more review, I think the wear and tear on Najee Harris may catch up with him much sooner than Javonte Williams. And I think Javonte Williams comes with a higher ceiling overall because of the lack of wear and tear. Mm-hmm. And so if you were going to take a running back, I think that was the guy. And I do think the Broncos have a pretty high need. So I'm going to give that a B.
Okay. And I will also give that a solid B because people don't realize, but this is a position of need for the Broncos. Lindsey's gone. Melvin Gordon's on his last year. I doubt we're gonna re-sign him again. Who knows what's going on with Freeman? Freeman just has never turned out to be what we thought Freeman was going to be. And I think we need a good running back like Williams that can fit the scheme, run the runs, catch out of the backfield, and fit into this Pat Shurmur offense. So I like the pick overall. I think it was good. I was pounding the table for, a certain linebacker from LSU, that never panned out. But I do like Javonte Williams out of North Carolina, and I think it's going to be a good overall pick for Denver. All right.
Since Matt brought up Khalil Herbert, somebody I was chatting with on Facebook brought him up too. The Broncos could have waited and tried to get Khalil Herbert, but what if they got to where they thought he got up there and he was no longer available? So reaching for a guy of need.
Yeah, it's always a risk you take. Do you sit there? Do you take the guy that's on there now, or do you sit there and you say, "Nah, we can get somebody else for lesser value"? Later in the draft, and then you get there and he's gone. So right. I understand that whole philosophy too. Round 3, Quinn, and I'm going to ask you guys to help me with this guy's last name because I have not memorized it yet. This is the lumberjack,
Miners.
Miners? Okay.
Miners.
All right. You know, when this pick first came down, I think all of us were our jaws hit the table. I sort of like it now. Jerry, what's your thoughts?
Okay, I'm still a C on the guy, and there's so many reasons. I mean, a Division III guy that has not played against the competition that most all of these other guys have played against. Inside offensive line, we need help, but it's not a priority like we talked about in the first round. Just not a priority. When I watched film on this guy, he does pancake just about every play. And that's a big deal. We talked with Thomas Reed about finishing.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn Miners, the gut, is a guy that finishes. So it'll be fun to watch his journey. I don't think we see him a whole lot until maybe next season. So at a third rounder, it's barely a C.
Right, Matt, and I saw you shaking your head in disagreement with this pick. So what's your thoughts?
This is going to be the pick I'm the harshest on. This is an F for me. This is the worst pick of our draft class. Well, yeah, it's worst. It's the worst one. The reason why I say that is if you look at our depth chart, we currently have 5 interior offensive linemen. 5.
Right.
Okay.
We are started, with Jawan James out now, we have 3 tackles.
Right.
That's it. And there was solid players on the board that were still a tackle, but maybe it wasn't, I don't know the logistics of it, but what we kept hearing in the draft is they had a guy they liked, but they wanted him to fall to him. And that was Mike Silver's transcripts that he released. We talked about attacking these positions of needs. Interior offensive linemen follow the trend of luxury over finding, a trendsetter at a position of need. And this is a place where you invest in depth. But when you got 5 interior offensive linemen, all of which have they haven't necessarily started games, but they have some NFL experience all the way down to Pat Morris. They've been active in at this level, So Calvin Anderson has had very limited exposure. Our swing tackle now is Quinn Bailey. I bet you guys never even heard his name until I just said it.
I read it on the depth chart or the roster somewhere. Yeah.
So
right,
that's why it's bad for me.
And the only reason I like this pick, I think it's fun. And I know
that
doesn't win football games,
One thing I forgot to mention, he did play in the Senior Bowl and had a really good week at the Senior Bowl.
And I think he's going to be more of a backup guy for maybe Cush because we really don't have a backup center. I heard he did very well playing center down there at the Senior Bowl. So we'll see how things. All right. So now we didn't have a pick in round 4. So I'm going to throw out this question from John to break.
You're skipping around 3 though. You're skipping around 3.
No, I'm not.
Baron Browning.
Last pick in round 3.
Wow, why don't they have it on this list I'm looking at? Okay, I apologize. The list I'm looking at does not even have him on there. So what do you guys think?
I give this one another C. Unfortunately, there was a better coverage linebacker on the board, which I'd argued is another position of need. I get Baron Browning, his athleticism is off the charts. The dude has the ability to be everything that Micah Parsons is. He's got all the physical traits. He's super athletic, but the biggest issue is Ohio State didn't even know how to use him. They kept shifting him inside, outside. When you get these guys that are being thrown all around and they get to this level, same thing tends to happen. And especially these later round guys, we don't see as high of a success rate when they're not able to commit to a position.
And one thing I read about him from multiple scouting reports is that coverage was the weakest aspect of his game. So I agree. This is another position or need where I think we went the wrong direction. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, as we sat there in our live coverage, I think all 3 of us, again, our jaws dropped because we couldn't believe they didn't grab Jabril Cox, a guy that we all touted was available. He's a known cover guy. As I've processed, I do like Baron Browning. I do share Matt's thoughts about the fact that Ohio State moved him around so much. Maybe it's because they lacked depth on their edge that they moved him up and made him play up as an edge rusher more. I don't know. He's played Sam. He's played Mike. I'm just like Matt. I don't like that he's moved around, but he does have the intangibles to be a really solid cover guy. And I hope, as Cecil Lammy said all week on the Fan, I hope they keep him inside and don't jack with him. Keep
Allow
him
him to
inside.
develop.
And hopefully. Okay. So before we go on to the 5th round, because we didn't have a pick in the 4th round, so we'll throw up this question as sort of off topic from John Burton. Do you guys hope Denver opens at home or on the road? Do you care?
I want it to be on the road.
Do you?
Yeah, especially because if Drew Lock is a starting quarterback, he's coming off an offseason of criticism from every angle. Having it be on the road may be better suited for him.
I disagree.
The reason why I think it'd be better suited is because if he's not going to have the pressure of the home crowd booing him right away if he's not doing well. Same thing for Teddy Bridgewater. If he's brought in to be the savior of the team, if he's not playing well right away, it's a lot of pressure because our fan base is a radical fan base. I just feel like giving them a game to warm up on the road and let them come back home and see if they can get in the groove.
I would rather them open at home just for the comfort of being at home for Drew Lock. I mean, yeah, the fans can get ugly if it starts going south, but you go on the road and you look ugly, then you come home and they've already turned on you. So what are your thoughts, Jerry?
You know what? I don't know how to answer the question. I was going to jump all over at home for the same reasons you said, David. I mean, I think this fan base is chomping at the bit to see our Broncos come out with all the new talent and really fired up. But Matt, being the ever vigilant mental side of football, I think he's 100% right. Let them go on the road and hopefully they win. Then they come back home and this fan base will be fired up as opposed to super critical of both quarterbacks.
And unless he goes on the road and throws 4 interceptions and we lose 42-10, and then what happens, Matt?
Well, then you see that then finally we can start to jump on the Matt train of realizing that this was a terrible decision.
That's why I think being at the comfort of your own stadium,
if he throws 4 picks in a home opener or 3 picks in a home opener,
it doesn't matter where he throws 4 picks.
Yeah, let's say. But do you think he's even going to be able to finish the game before the Bronco fans want to storm the dang state? They want to storm the field at that point with aggression.
Well,
I think giving him the ability. If Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, I don't care where we.
Well, yeah, if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, then this is a whole different conversation. All right, on to round 5.
Well, let's ask the fan base. What do you guys? What are your thoughts? Who do you want? Do you want them on the road or do you want them home? I want them now. I want them on the road playing the Chargers. Beat Justin Herbert all over the field.
Yeah, he comes out and he plays a lights out game. His confidence, especially with Drew Lock, his confidence is going to be through the roof, and we might be able to see him build off of it and continue to ride that confidence for a longer run. And maybe that's enough to get him hyped up. Let's not get into this quarterback thing too much. Let's kind of go back.
And this one really quick.
All circles back.
I got a wife I promised I'd watch a movie with after this.
All right.
Trying to stay on the good side.
All right, this one really quick. Wanting to know, and this is from Gilbert Stephen Montez Cox. He wants to know if we play on Thanksgiving. I doubt we're going to play on Thanksgiving because they try to put those premium games on there, but we'll know Thursday. Schedules come out Thursday, so we'll know Thursday evening or Wednesday evening, Thursday morning. So, all right, round 5. This pick right here is my least favorite pick. I will give this one an F right here. And that's Caden Stearns out of Texas, the safety. I have no idea. The guy hasn't had a good year since his freshman season. All of his other numbers. We got lucky here and saved a little face, so it looks a little better when you turn around and Jamar Johnson's still sitting there with your second pick of 5. In other words, we just blew this whole thing, out of the water. If somebody else would have picked Johnson, this would have been like the most solid F I could give. So, what are your thoughts, Matt?
So I'm gonna we'll just kind of pair this ones together. So I give the Stearns pick actually a B, and I'll give you 2 words: David Bruton clone. He's gonna be in there, and he's gonna be the special teams guy.
Goodness.
He's going to be a special teams guy. That's all he's going to be. Denver's struggling on special teams. Okay. They're going to need someone to groom him in there. He's a gunner. The dude's lightning fast. As long as he's on special teams, I'll give it a B. If they try to throw him in the corner or safety, it's an F. I'm right there with you. But if he's coming into space special teams, I think he's got the potential. He's vocal. He was a leader on the Texas team. Let's see if we can get a David Bruton type player out of him. Jamar Johnson is my favorite pick in this entire thing. You got an absolute steal. He's a raw player, but sitting behind a Kareem Jackson for a year is only going to help him blow through the roof. Some people had him as a early second-round grade. Some people had felt the inexperience was too much. But the dude's a solid A for me there.
Jerry, your thoughts on these picks?
I'm with you, David. I had it a solid D at best. And then when I wrote my article about our draft picks and got to doing a little deeper research, as Matt points out, the guy's a lightning bolt, 4'4", 40, 42-inch vert, super athletic. He was a ball hawk his freshman season at Texas. I don't know what happened to him in the later parts of his career at Texas as a Longhorn, but I think he's a special teams player that they drafted specifically for special teams. I just don't understand why they drafted him before Jamar Johnson. That boggles my mind.
And that's the whole thing that boggled my mind too. Why are you drafting this guy when Jamar Johnson is still sitting on the board and risking somebody else taking him?
Right.
I mean, because if that would have happened, that would have just been a totally blown round in my opinion. But I think with Jamar Johnson and then the next two picks, I think this is where the Broncos maybe got their steals of the draft. And let's talk about the next one. That's Seth Williams, the wide receiver out of Auburn. I think this guy is very underrated. I think he's going to be a huge threat for us down in the red zone and things like that. Jerry, I'll let you.
I hope they can find the fire within. This guy reminds me so much of Brandon Marshall. It's not even funny. Brandon Marshall may be my favorite wide receiver that ever wore a Broncos uniform, and we've had great ones. But the things that Brandon Marshall did when he left Denver also just supported my feelings of him as a Bronco. He worked through a lot of mental illness, but his ability to fight to get the completions, he'd use that big body and take away the ball. The problem that I see with Seth Williams, route running, he just doesn't carry that fire. He's just real lackadaisical about his route running. And I hope Jerry Jeudy can turn that around. And hopefully the quarterback situation can turn it around.
Yeah, so kind of piggyback off what Jerry was saying about Seth Williams, essentially what we've done is try to find a Tim Patrick replacement. If Tim Patrick has another, eccentric year with us, he's likely going to command a pretty good amount for a receiver on the free agent market next year once he becomes a UFA. So essentially they're trying to find his replacement. And I think Seth Williams has got a good chance of being that guy.
Yeah, I think he's actually going to be quite a bit better because of his athleticism. I mean, obviously speculation, but he carried top 5 records from Auburn, including receiving touchdowns and receiving yards. He's a red zone machine. So,
and I think
that's a great pick.
And I do too. I think that's where he can really help this team is in the red zone. We really struggled in the red zone last year. So hopefully getting Cortland Sutton back this year will also help us down there. But having another guy like Seth Williams in there definitely will not hurt. This next pick, I love this pick. And I know he went to LSU, and I'll put that aside. He opted out last year, but he was a vital part of the LSU secondary when they had that championship season. And I think he's going to be a great depth guy in our secondary. Matt, you go first on this one.
Yeah, so actually, guys, I gotta hurry up so I don't get in trouble with my wife. All right, I'm gonna like throw mine together. Kerry Vincent's a steal at this point. The dude is lightning fast. He's an LSU DB. LSU's been primed as DBU for a while. And the 7th round is just phenomenal still. This is probably one of my favorite picks of the draft. As for Jonathan Cooper and Marquise Spencer, they're kind of unknowns. There's not really much about them. They're raw guys. Cooper's got a heart issue going on, so he's going to take pretty much a good portion of this year off. But we talked about investing in depth in positions of need. Defensive line, they lost to Marcus Walker, so helping him kind of get familiar with with Marquise Spencer. That'll help there. And then we talk about Vaughn leaving. We found Malik Reed as a UDFA 2 years ago. Maybe Cooper is a steal at this rate. He's an Oklahoma kid, so Oklahoma throws out pretty solid prospects. So with a year under Vaughn and getting healthy, maybe Vix can work some guru magic if he makes it past this season, and we see a superstar come out of the 7th round.
Agreed. He comes kind of like Thomas Reed. He's a high character guy, 2-time captain for the Buckeyes. I think George Payton recognized that as something that the locker room can use, and definitely, like Jonathan Cooper, is a depth pick there. So,
okay, all right. We've run about 10 minutes over our normal show time, so we'll let Matt get going. So, and Jerry and I will wrap things up. But Matt, you enjoy your evening, and Matt and I will sort of coordinate our 4th and 99s
good to see you, Matt,
for the off season, and we'll post it on Rocky Mountain Sports Sport. Have a good night, Matt.
All right, we'll see you guys.
All right, Jerry. So really quick, I like Cooper and I like Spencer as well. I think those are solid picks in the 7th round that can really help us out with some depth issues along the defensive line. So.
Yeah, I didn't get to speak to Kerry Vincent as a corner or a safety. I don't see a huge value there, but as you said, a big part of that defensive backfield. He's also a big part of the 2-time SEC 4x100 championship team.
Oh yeah, he is fast.
He is super fast, and I could see them maybe giving him some looks as a kickoff returner and.
I think he'll definitely be an impact on special teams, and I think he could even migrate over to safety because he did play some safety at LSU. At times too, he would roll over into the safety position. So it may be something we see there if he can put on a little bit more weight and maybe play safety because we got a pretty full cornerback room right now. So maybe he can help us out in the safety position. So.
When I wrote my article, I think I got some bad numbers on him. I got him at 5'10", 155, and with my buddy Alex Romero on the Rocky Mountain Thunder, he had him at 189. Do you have any numbers on him?
No, but I can look something up really quick. 155 seems
tiny.
Yeah, and the way he was hitting guys while at LSU, I wouldn't say he was 155 pounds.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and say overall, when we walked away from our live coverage of the draft, I walked away thinking, this is barely a C. And as I finished up and wrote this article, I think I gave it a full-on B. I do think some of this draft stuff happened because of the Aaron Rodgers deal, and it'll be interesting to see how that pans out with Patrick Surtain if he's a Bronco for long.
All right, let me see. I have 5'10", 189 pounds for Kerry Vincent Jr. So
I can live with that.
If he can put on another 10 or 15 pounds of muscle, I think he could make that transition to safety. Myself, I walked away from after the 2nd round and 3rd round, wondering what the heck just happened and what is George Payton. He saved himself from round 3 day 3, if you ask me.
Yeah,
I think we found some gems. I think it's going to turn out to be a fairly decent draft class for his first draft, and we'll see what happens with the Aaron Rodgers saga, and if some of these picks were maybe part of an Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't even mind I know Surtain may be special one day, but I wouldn't even mind swapping him out and picking up Stokes either, because Stokes from Georgia is not bad either. I think he just had an off season last year. So
it is so funny. I envisioned a trade back in the 1st round and Eric Stokes being one of the primary targets for the Broncos. I think he suits the Fangio system. Not that Surtain doesn't, but it's just somebody that they could have gone on later in the draft if they'd have traded back. So when the whole thing with Green Bay happened and Green Bay ended up with him, it was like, this is happening.
Yeah. So, and who knows, maybe all these things were part of a puzzle to be put together later. So I guess we'll find out what's going on with Rocky Mountain Thunder. When's you and Alex doing your next show there, Jerry?
Well, we just dropped one yesterday or the day before, and so that one's out there, and it's really long because we got into the voluntary OTA Juwan James saga. We got into our post-draft show, and of course Aaron Rodgers topic. So that one ran long. I asked everybody to listen to it a little bit each day so you can get through it. We'll try and get another one out Sunday or Monday. Alex and I have kind of conflicting schedules, so it can be challenging for us to be together to get those things done. But we will work on getting it out again next Sunday, Monday.
Okay, and for anybody who has not listened to Rocky Mountain Thunder, I highly recommend it. It's fun. It's informative. So good information put out. Jerry and Alex do a great job. So if you guys have not checked it out yet, check them out. You're on Anchor, Spotify, pretty much everywhere, right?
Yeah, Apple Podcast. It's all around. It's specifically I listen to it on Spotify. But yes, Anchor FM, I think a lot of people are listening to it there. The Apple Podcast, that's right.
Okay. All right. Well, they do a great job. Like I mentioned before, Matt jumped off 4th and 99. There's not a whole lot going on between this period now and the start of training camp. So Matt and I will work out a schedule, what we're going to do. We may do a show. We're not going to do one this Wednesday since we had this special edition. We may do one next Wednesday. And Jerry, if you're available, maybe you can come on and we can discuss the schedule. So that'll maybe be our schedule preview, and we can sort of go through it game by game and sort of give our breakdown on the Broncos with our current makeup and not pretend we have Aaron Rodgers. So.
Right.
So, all right. So I'll definitely finalize that with Matt and Jerry, and then we'll let everybody out there know if we're going to do a schedule review. And then, boy, hopefully training camp gets here soon.
Yeah, on the Rocky Mountain
football.
Absolutely. The Rocky Mountain Thunder is hopefully giving all of us a chance to be ingrained in football. We're always looking for extra topics. Anytime we see a highlight, we try to bring that to the show. So hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear, what you want to talk about, and we'll try and get it on. If not there, then 4th and 99.
Okay, and everybody just make sure make sure you share this out there, and let's help get Thomas Reed's name out there. Stand-up guy, so hopefully he'll get a shot somewhere. I'd love it to happen here in Denver. So
yeah, we need some depth. We need some depth out there.
Yeah, if anybody has any contacts down over at Dove Valley or UC Health, whatever they call it nowadays, go ahead and point them to our podcast so they can take a look at this guy. I'm sure he's probably been on their radar. So, and hopefully he does get a shot. Seems like an upstanding character guy, and you can always use those on a football team.
Yep.
All right, Jerry. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for bringing Thomas on. Anytime you guys want to jump on with Matt and I, you and Alex are always welcome. If you got Thomas Reed again, he's always welcome as well. We'll always help to get his story out there.
Thanks a lot, David. I appreciate it. Enjoyed being here. And as Thomas Reed's family taught him, stay out of your comfort zone.
Definitely, everybody. That's a good mantra to live to, stay out of your comfort zone. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a good night, and we will talk to you hopefully next week.